Good morning and welcome to the Stories Behind the Stories. I'm your host today, Casper Wehrhahn. Owen is out doing paper routes and we're gonna go through the paper with you. I'm here today with Kira Paterson for the June 18th paper. Kira, thank you for being here with me today.
Yeah, thank you for hosting when all of a sudden we were like, oh, well, okay, so yesterday we were scheduled in for 1:30 today to do our filming, and we were like, oh yeah, that works out fine because Owen usually goes for the drive in the morning, and so we're like, yeah, that's perfect. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh wait, 1:30 is something else, so we got to do this in the morning. So thank you, Casper, for stepping in last minute so I didn't have to be here with Ken.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, we had a bit of a schedule change there, so we might be a little bit rusty, but bear with us. We have lots to cover this week, and hopefully we'll get through our whole list, but if not, you'll just have even more reason to pick up the paper. Mm-hmm. And speaking of the paper this week and things being a little bit different, I don't think we make mention of it anywhere, but this week is a bit of an interesting week for the paper as well because Ken's doing a little bit of an experiment. This week's paper is going out to Brandon, so we had like 1,700 extra papers, I think, that were printed for us. And I got to actually help yesterday. The stuffing crew put all of that together for a couple hours. They were still here way past the time that I left, but I was glad to give them an extra hand. But without further ado, let's get in the paper. Right on our front page, we have a good story of the Neepawa Rotary Club. And they're doing what they do best. They're helping out local organizations, area organizations. And Kira, this was something that you covered. They gave out to like 13 different organizations, didn't they?
Yeah, they had on social media, they had put up a post about all of the organizations that benefited from their Rotary auction this year, as well as another fundraiser that they did. And we saw it and we thought, okay, that would be good for a story. And then I also kind of put a little bit of a seed in their minds of, oh yeah, we could also put that in an advertisement. That would look nice as an ad. And apparently they liked that idea, so they did advertise with us. So we were even happier to have this story in the paper. Rotary does support us every year with a lot of ads, and they support the community. So we were really happy to be able to highlight them on the front page this week. The picture that is on the front page is the Roxy Theater. That kind of rounded out their donations for this year. That was kind of the tail end, that they kind of just gave them whatever they had left, which was a good chunk. They got $1,500, so that was nice. There's a bit of a story about all of the different organizations, but we also go a little bit further in later on in the paper about what the Roxy is using this money and other money that they have gathered up for in their renovations this year. So I kind of got two stories out of one in this, because when we talked to Kate and Kay and Leslie on the Roxy board, they were talking about some of the renovations they were doing inside, and I said, oh, I didn't know you were still doing stuff, because they've been closed and they had used some of that time to do the outside of their building. But now apparently they're doing inside, and we couldn't see that from outside, so we had no idea. So this Rotary story, which is great, they gave a lot of money, and you can actually see in previous editions, I don't personally know the dates because I didn't take time to look that up, but in previous editions we have covered Beautiful Plains Community Medical Clinic. They gave money for a vaccine fridge there. Touchwood, they gave money to help them furnish their new day program building. Other things, the nursery school, we covered that. They used a fundraiser of beer tasting to help give them $1,000 because their funding had been cut, which was also a story in the paper a little while ago.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of background knowledge and a lot of connection with the Rotary Club, just because we do cover a lot of those things that they do, and also the stuff that they support. We cover those events and those organizations and stuff like that. So there's quite the connection there with the Rotary Club. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's always very interesting seeing how one story can lead into another. With, as you mentioned, the one Neepawa school's funding getting cut, and then of course the Rotary being like, oh, well, we can help out with that. And then, this week, obviously, Neepawa Rotary Club gave to different organizations. And then it's like, oh, hey, we actually found out the Roxy's doing stuff on the inside, which, as you say, we can't see what's going on in there. We haven't been in there. Nobody's been in there except for the committee. So we don't know what's going on in there. But it's good to see that is still rolling. And we're happy to see that progress in the community.
Absolutely.
And I don't remember if you said the total, but the Rotary Club gave out a total of $25,000. So very good to see that.
Yep.
And one quick thing on page 2 before we actually get into the full details on the Neepawa Roxy Theater renovations and whatnot. The Nipawin Titans, as they are now called, has some new merch in. They have some new custom hockey pucks and mini sticks at their store, which is on 243 Hamilton Street. And I have to say, their merch is looking really good. Obviously, they have great logos to help out with that. Very good designs. And I kind of mentioned this in the office one day. I still don't think I'm going to go to a hockey game. It's just not for me. But with the colors and the logos, I feel like their merch is definitely something that I would wear because it looks nice and it's like a color palette that I really like gold and black. How can you go wrong?
Exactly,
honestly.
Right? Yeah.
Did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Well, I just wanted to add, while we're on page 2, I'm a little bit offended that you didn't add the squirrel pictures to the list.
I was highly considering it. I was just like, well, if we can get to it, we definitely will. I mean, how can we not?
I know, right? It just for those who aren't aware, who haven't seen the paper yet, we have some adorable pictures of a squirrel on page 2 beside the merchandise pictures. So while you're there looking at the Neepawa Titans merch, definitely look at the cute little squirrel because squirrels are adorable.
Absolutely, yeah. Very good pictures by Sonia Paterson, your mom.
Yes.
Peeking out there from the tree and saying hello.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if a squirrel had access to a movie theater, they would love to go there.
Exactly. Great segue in to our next story about a movie theater.
Not so sure on that, but thank you. Kia, walk us through the details on that.
Of course. So as we mentioned before, the Roxy got some money. They got money from a number of organizations, not just the Rotary Club, and those are all listed in this story. I don't want to shortchange them, but I also don't remember them all off the top of my head, and I'm not going to read it all to you. But there were a number of organizations that helped them with this project, and the project that they're working on is their bathrooms. And Kate Jackman-Atkinson is the board chair for the Neepawa Theater Center, and she talked to me about why they chose to do that at this point in time. And it was basically because it's the upgrades that they're doing are kind of COVID related. They're very like sanitization type stuff. So they're getting hands-free soap dispensers, hands-free paper towel dispensers, and hands-free taps in the bathroom. And while they're ripping up stuff in the bathroom, they figured they might as well do the countertops and the flooring. So they are kind of remodeling the whole thing. They actually have the flooring in now, and on page 19 there is a picture. You can see the new flooring with lovely models Kay and Leslie Strelzik, who are on the board. Kay also works with us here at the Banner Press. There's some details about why they chose to do that. They're also getting a sanitizer fogger to spray sanitizer everywhere so that people can sit in clean seats and touch clean surfaces and all that kind of thing. And some hand sanitizing towers, so like little stand things that stand up and they have sanitizer in them, and they're hands-free, so you just put your hand under them and they go squirt, squirt. And those can be put wherever they need them in the building. So very timely upgrades and additions. They had talked about they were planning to do the carpeting, which they actually found. I didn't mention this in the story, but they actually found a swatch of carpeting from, I believe it was from Neepawa Gladstone Co-op, the through Chalet, that, unless it was Home Hardware, I don't know. I'm sorry. I can't remember because I didn't write that part down. But they did find a swatch that very closely matched kind of the essence of their old carpet. It's not the exact same colors or anything, but it is that same type of pattern and that same era of whatever year that this Roxy was built. I really should have gotten my facts straight before I started talking about this, but
it's an old building.
Yes.
It's an old building,
Yeah.
and it's changed once or twice from whatever happened. I also don't quite remember. I think one thing was a fire. There
think
might
it
have just
burned
been
down
like
once,
one
yeah.
fire, and then
yeah,
this
and
building is like the
they
one
rebuilt
that,
it. But
yeah.
that I want to say it's from like the 20s or 30s. I could be way off, but it's an old style, lower. Apparently, I've been being told off camera that it's lower. Yeah, so they have old carpeting in there, which might actually be fairly close to original, and you can kind of tell. Kate was saying that it was looking pretty threadbare, but they do have plans to get new carpeting in there that pretty much matches what was in there before, so you still get that feeling of walking into an old-fashioned theater, but it'll just be cushier carpet to walk on.
It's going to be familiar but different next time you're in there. It's going to be very good to see.
But I should mention that the carpets are probably not going to be done before they're hoping to be open again.
Yeah.
That was kind of one that they had planned to do, and then it got kind of put on the back burner because these COVID upgrades were kind of more prioritized and there was more funding available for that kind of a thing.
Yeah, and it's good to see that they're able to do all this stuff even while being closed, because obviously you're not getting in as much revenue and whatnot, but you know, they're still keeping busy. They have their popcorn sales going on, and obviously they have all these projects, so that's good to see that they're able to do that.
Yes.
We should get into our next story then. I'm very rusty on this, so I don't actually know if there's any changes to any information, but we have another graduation update on page 9, and that was another one you did. This, again, very Kira heavy paper.
Yeah, so this one, not really any changes, it's more new information. So I did a story, I can't remember if it was last week or the week before, and I believe NECI, and I think there was one other school that had told me a little bit about what their plans were tentatively going to be for graduation. And a lot of other schools that I'd reached out to said, oh, we'll have more details when we have the next round of restrictions made available to us. So when the next round of restrictions came around on June 12th, a couple of schools actually did reach out to me and gave me an update on, okay, this is what we're planning to do. And those schools this time were St. Rose and William Morton Collegiate in Gladstone. Yeah, so I have a few details on those. I have a couple pictures. Well, I didn't take the pictures. We had them submitted by the Gladstone School, and they told us about their ceremonies. They're planning to do like a parade, a driving parade, so everybody's going to be in their vehicles, and a few other things they're doing to highlight their graduates, such as banners, which I don't remember if it was banners, but I know they had signs of some sort last year, so this is kind of a throwback to that, but with obviously this year's grads, they've got them hung up on all the light standards around Gladstone, and yeah, so definitely check that out. Both of those graduations are happening this weekend, so if you have somebody that you know that you'd like to go to the drive-in one at Gladstone, or you'd like to tune in to the YouTube link for St. Rose to see them graduate, get on that, because that's happening this weekend. Actually, I think it's tomorrow, Friday, which it might be Friday by the time this airs. I don't know the schedule. So on the 18th is when those graduations are happening. So yeah, definitely give that a read, and thank you to those schools for reaching out and giving me the update like they promised. So
Yeah, it's very challenging, of course, this year as it was last year in regards to grad. There's only so much you can do if you're able to do anything. Yeah. So it's good to see that there's still going to be a little bit of something for them, because it is a big occasion for when you're getting out of high school and whatnot. But yeah, congratulations to you all, and good luck in whatever you do in the future. And speaking of some changes with COVID, there's another program related to schooling that is a bit different this year. If I remember correctly, it's the Adopt a grandparent program
Yeah.
that is for grade 5 students. And traditionally they go into Country Meadows to interact with their adopted grandparents, but obviously they can't do that with COVID going on. So instead they're writing letters, aren't they, Kira?
Yeah, so what Marcia, who is the activities coordinator at Country Meadows, what she called it was intergenerational pen pals, and I loved it so much I used that for the headline. But yeah, so the grade 5s, they usually go and they'll play some games, they'll learn some new card games, old card games, and like the different skills like knitting and different recipes to cook with the residents there usually. But yeah, obviously restrictions have come in and there are only certain ways that you can visit a family member at Country Meadows. So the grade 5s weren't able to go this year. And actually last year they weren't able to do their kind of wind-up visits either because in the spring that's when things shut down. So last year they sent a letter at kind of around the end of the school year. This year they've been doing it throughout the school year, corresponding with some residents, which is really cool because then they can actually, as opposed to just sending a letter of like, hi, how are you? I'm this person, this is what I like, and blah, 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 and hoping maybe they'll get a letter back by the end of the school year. This year, because it was throughout the year, they've got to go back and forth a little bit and have an actual conversation and get to know their pen pal. So it was really cool. I was able to get a few of the snippets in from a couple of the letters that got sent. Unfortunately, I didn't get all of them, so I'm sorry to the kids who got their pictures taken and stuff that were hoping they might be in the paper this week. I didn't have the space to get everybody in, but I did pick a couple and pull some snippets from the letters and put the pictures in of the people who wrote the letters, both the students and the residents. And it was just kind of a really heartwarming story, and I was glad that I was able to get this because it's such even for me, if I were to get a letter from a friend from somewhere else or a card or something in the mail, it always is kind of a brightening of your day, more than just like a text message or something like that. Getting that physical letter, it's like, oh, that's so nice. So for them to be able to do that, and for the kids to be able to look forward to getting a letter, and for the grandparents to be able to look forward to getting a letter, it was just such a heartwarming little story that I was really glad to include in this week's paper because they were all very thrilled that they were able to do something still, even though the visitation was restricted.
Absolutely, yeah, and just reading through the story, it really shows how excited the kids are about being able to write these letters and then, of course, subsequently get letters from their adopted grandparent. And, of course, the reverse is true for their adopted grandparent. They're really enjoying sending them out and receiving, hearing little different things about each other, whatever questions that they have for that week or day or whatever the time span is that the letter exchange is going on for. Yeah, it's a very good program. They've also sent art with their letters as well a few different times. One instance they drew flowers for them. So it's a very good program, and I'm very glad that they were able to continue it in this way this year.
Yeah.
Next up on our list, a bit of a different kind of story here. It doesn't really fit in with the others, but nonetheless has something to do with the community and education. And this is someone that you probably have seen in our paper in the past, especially for rodeo events. Hayden Welpton is going on to Dawson College in Montana. So congratulations, Dawson. He's gotten rodeo skills over like the past 7 years, perhaps longer. And yeah, he got a scholarship to the Dawson Community College, which is in Glendive, Montana, where he will not only be doing schooling there, but will also be a member of the Dawson Buccaneers rodeo team for the upcoming season. So that's pretty exciting, I'm sure. He's competed in a variety of rodeo competitions, both on the high school circuit and in it's called the Manitoba Rodeo Cowboys Association. Mm-hmm. So lots of experience for sure. And I'm pretty sure we've actually had him on the front page of a few different papers for events that he's been in. Had really good shots from there. So yeah, congratulations, Hayden, and good luck in your future studies there. And I hope you have fun with all the rodeo stuff you'll get to do there.
Yeah, that was one of the sportsiest stories we have in for this week. So Owen wrote that one.
Yeah, Owen wrote that, but I don't pick up well on sporting details, but that was worth a shout out.
For sure. Yeah.
Our next story, still kind of to do with animals in some way, I guess, and pie, which might be puzzling to hear, but the
it's not animal pie.
It's not animal. Yeah, it's a different pie. But there is another fundraiser going on in Neepawa for a puppy park, similar to the fireman fundraiser. I don't remember exactly what it was called, to raise funds for equipment. So yeah, some pies are being sold to raise money for a potential puppy park, where people can take their dogs and do all that sort of dog park stuff.
And not just any pies. Val Wilson's pies. You gotta know, these are like the best pies in town. So you gotta get on this. Even if you don't like dogs, just get a pie.
Just get a pie, just because it's fresh and homemade and yummy.
Exactly. Who wouldn't want a pie?
Yeah, and I don't know if it says in here where potentially they're hoping it to be. Actually, I think it says at the end. Possibly Rotary Park and northeast section of the agricultural fairgrounds are both options that they're looking at for this. It'll be interesting. It will be an off-the-leash dog park, so I assume it'll be like fenced in and everything, because obviously, you don't want dogs running everywhere like
on
crazy.
The streets, yeah.
So like a typical dog park, they'll have like a fenced-in area, and people will be able to take their dogs there and not have to worry about leashes. Yeah, so it'll be fun. And if you can support a good cause and have a nice, tasty pie while you do it.
Yeah, so it's a win-win, really.
Why not? It's a win-win. Just do it.
Yeah. We're not pressuring you, but the pie is.
Yeah, the pie is. We're not doing it. It's the pie.
Yes.
Only the pie.
You know you want it.
I'll do a quick shout out here as well, from the same page. That's page 13. High Life has donated to Touchwiz Day Program building. So that's another little bit of money that will help them with their day program building there, help that get finished up. It was a check for $1,000, and of course every little bit counts, and so they'll make good use of that. Next up here, speaking of grads earlier, we have a huge grad section full of grads from all over the place: Neepawa, Erickson, Alonza, Gwinnett, and more. So be sure to take a look at that. There's a lot of good work put into that by Diane, and of course we helped check ads and make sure everything was all right there and send it off for printing. So yeah, take a look at your grads for this year and wish them good luck if you're able to get in contact with any of them. And yeah, lots of faces in there. So be sure to take a flip through and look at all of those.
Yeah.
We still have some time here, so we're going to circle back to the A section. On page 10, there's a story about the Neepawa Elks, and that's not something you see often, I don't think, at least not in my memory. I haven't seen one very, very recently, so walk us through that.
Yeah, so the Elks, sometimes they're a little bit more behind the scenes, and they are always supporting things. It's just we don't necessarily always hear about it, or it's kind of there's some space between type of thing, and you forget, oh, when was the last time we saw the Elks? But they are always helping out in the community and always doing some work in the background. They actually gave a little bit of money to NACTV right here, the studio, this lovely, beautiful studio here, benefited from a donation. They get a donation from the Elks every year because the Elks have recognized just how good it is to have a local station covering local things. And they also do a lot with kids. They've done donations to the schools. They do an annual scholarship. They helped with the new Seeds and Sprouts daycare, and the new middle school when they were going up last year. I think it was last year.
I think so.
Oh, my brain is just, everything is blending together. And yeah, so they do a lot of good work in the community, and it's also great not only to recognize the work that they do, but to recognize some of their individuals that are involved. And they did just that last Friday. They presented 2 longtime members with 60-year membership pins, Jim Schmall and Gerald Buchanan, and they talked a little bit. You might have seen it on NACTV actually, because Dave Bennett was there filming that, and they talked a little bit about when they joined and what the Elks do and why they enjoy being part of the Elks, that kind of a thing. So I do have a few quotes from both Gerald and Jim, and a little bit of information about the Elks in there for those who are unfamiliar with the Elks, because they are a little more behind the scenes, and they do great work, and people should really know about it. So I was glad to be able to highlight that. I was glad to be able to get the call from Jim Schmall about this happening, and I was really happy to get this story in here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's actually good for sure.
Yeah. A little bit of a personal note here. I just remembered, like, a long, many years ago, the Elks actually gave a donation to the school to help me out, because I am deaf in one ear, and one of the Elks' focuses is hearing and visual impairment, especially for kids. So they gave money for a little speaker system for the teachers to use, so that it was a little louder, so I could hear back when I was in, I don't know, kindergarten or grade 1 or something. Yeah. So for me, it was really great to be able to cover the Elks, because they did, and it was like, I was really young, so I didn't really know what all of it meant at that time, but they were very helpful, and they do great support for kids in the area that need the help.
Yeah, for sure. It's always interesting to see how, again, stories can connect, of course, in this case, to your past, and now you know more about them.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, through covering this story. Yeah. And that's also kind of why we have certain seating arrangements on the show. In some cases, I'm the host, because obviously don't want to be sitting on your deaf ear. That would be a lot of extra work for you.
Exactly.
You wouldn't be able to hear very well.
What did you say? Say that again.
Yeah. So I'm very happy to host and accommodate in that way. And we're gonna flip over to looking back here just really quickly. We have like 2 minutes left. Some special occasions for the curling rink and NACTV, actually. In 1951, the first sod was turned for the new Neepawa curling rink. So we have a photo there of all these people. And of course, it's an old photo, not super great quality, but there's a bunch of folks in there, and they are all individually named. So it's interesting to look at there. And in 1981, we don't have a story per se for this. It was just sort of a photo cut line deal. So I wrote a little note. And in 1981, it says that the local TV station, NACTV, was preparing for its first broadcast. And so it had Kathy, and I'm going to pronounce this wrong, but I'll try. Michael Chuck? Possibly. Something like that. And Ted Deller preparing for the channel's initial broadcast, which was shown on Saturday, June 13th at 6:30 p.m. It had Kathy as the news rep, Janet Cochran as the sports rep, and Reverend Mel Walters presenting the weather. So congratulations to NACTV for, I can't do math, so whatever anniversary that is, 40?
Yep.
Yeah?
Yeah, because it says right there, 40 years ago.
Oh yeah, of course. I have it right there in my subheads. But anyway, we are running short on time now. There's so much more that we couldn't go through, so be sure to take a look at the paper. Kira, thank you for joining me today, and thank you, the viewers, for joining us as well. Contact us at 204-476-3401 if you'd like to get in touch, or news@neepawabanner.com. And of course, for ads at neepawabanner.com. Thank you, and goodbye for now.